Ohio State, Michigan. Saturday, high noon Eastern kickoff on Fox. I cannot overstate the mental impact that this had on me last year, that this had on Ohio State last year. Firstly, for terrible reasons, and then I'm a firm believer it catapulted them into discovering a whole new version of themselves, which was good enough to win a national championship. Michigan's won 4 straight. I don't know if you've heard that this week, but they've won 4 straight. But last year was the most inexplicable result out of this entire rivalry as long as I've been a coherent adult human being watching it. Just remember, take yourself back. Earmuffs in Columbus for a second. Take yourself back. Okay, Michigan had won 2 in a row, and I'd been at both of those games, and last year they had won 3 in a row. I was so confident that Ohio State had this thing in the bag last year, I didn't go to that game. I went to Texas A&M, Texas. So you've lost 3 in a row to them. You've got them at home. They're terrible. They can't complete a forward pass. You're well on your way to the playoff. You're a 3-touchdown favorite. Weather looked bad early in the week. Come Saturday, come kickoff time, it's sunny in Columbus. It's in the upper 40s. Everything is set. The stage is set. And you, I'm just telling you, I watched it in disbelief. Given the circumstances, it was the most stunning outcome in a college football game that I think I ever remember. I'm talking about all the bigger upsets, like all the bigger point spread upsets. This wasn't the biggest point spread upset ever, obviously. 20, 21, something like that. Given what was at stake, it was the most jarring result I think I've ever seen. Okay, so this Saturday, forecast in Ann Arbor, upper 20s at kickoff, 80% chance of snow as the game goes on. I also have it on good authority. In fact, how about FanDuel hit us up today, and they said, if you would have bet $100 on Michigan money line back when they first started this streak in 2021, bet $100 on Michigan that afternoon and keep doubling down with your winnings every game thereafter, you would be up $25,898 right now. And if you laid it on the line this Saturday and they won, you'd be up $81,000. I don't know if any of you out there did that. I'm just telling you that's what FanDuel let me know. So tell me one thing about the game. Who has more rushing yards? If anyone knows, if anyone has the crystal ball and you can look into it. Because I'm going to tell you that's probably who wins the game. And the reason I'm going to say that, another paper popper of a stat here, is total rush yards. The team that wins that little mini battle within the battle has won the game since 2001. Every game since 2001 has been won by the team that had more rushing yards. Run defense in this game, Ohio State 2, Michigan 11. It's tough to come by. Rushing offenses in this game. Ohio State in the 50s, Michigan number 10. That's Michigan's shot. I mean, Michigan's got to be able to do it, and they can do it with quarterback as well. Obviously, no Justice Haynes for Michigan. Jordan Marshall, yes. Bryce Underwood, I think, has got to get some stuff done with his legs in this game. But I'm going to say this again, like I said last year. Ohio State holds all the keys here. It sounds a little disrespectful to Michigan, but I mean it in a couple of ways. The first set of keys that Ohio State holds is to all of college football. Because if Ohio State is as good as they've looked, very few teams can compete with them on a neutral field, which is what the playoff would be. So there's a very, very small handful of teams that could ever hope to win the national championship. If Ohio State is even just a smidge overrated, or if they're outright fraudulent, which I doubt, but humor me here, then they're like 8 to 10 teams that could win it all. So Ohio State holds all the cards to the college football playoff in terms of variance, but they also hold the cards here because their plan A has worked all season. Like if you've watched Ohio State games, when have they had to deviate? When has the fastball not worked? They've been able to throw that thing 98 with pretty much pinpoint accuracy all year, and it doesn't really matter. If you can paint in the upper 90s, you don't need a devastating 12-6 curveball. Like you don't need a changeup that falls off a cliff, lower black. You don't need all that. But that doesn't mean they don't have it. So they could have all that. Like it could be the worst of both worlds for opposing teams out there where Ohio State hasn't had to do that, but when they have to do it, they will be able to do it. Cap busters are important here. Cap buster profile bears very close watching. Ohio State's defense is number 1 in the country in cap buster runs allowed. Those are runs of 30-plus yards. If you've watched Michigan, Michigan's about as good as any team in the country at lulling you to sleep It looks like they just keep running into a brick wall. Gain of 1, gain of 3, gain of 2, boom, gain of 80. And you can go into a Michigan preview and you could say, if they just stop the explosive run, man, you can shut Michigan down. Or you'll come out of a Michigan win and you'll say, Michigan only had 38 rushing yards outside of their 2 big explosive runs. Well, that's the thing. Michigan does that pretty regularly. They're top 5 in the country in cap buster runs. So that's one of those big something has to give sort of deals. Because it's a non-negotiable, Michigan's got to break some explosive runs, and Ohio State just hasn't given them up. But the thing about Michigan defensively is they're number 1 against the cap buster pass. They don't let you get them, or at least they haven't let teams get them, big chunk style through the air. Ohio State is top 10 offensively in that category. So it's a real good two-way strength on strength there. But the thing to remember, the one thing I can't get out of the back of my mind about Ohio State is I said they were top 10 in cap buster plays through the air offensively. They're number 9. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year-round, and we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. They've really shut it down offensively. They really haven't had to gear up offensively a whole lot, so they may be better than 9th. Like, really, their top end may be number 1 in the country. Just interesting to keep an eye on there. Cap busters on the ground for Michigan, cap busters through the air for Ohio State. Ohio State's philosophy last year was an abomination in this game. Now, I don't think it was randomized. I think it was born out of this entire concept of being tired of being bullied in this game, and they were getting out physical by Michigan. And so Ryan Day rightly looked around and said, there's no reason we should ever get out physical against anyone. And so they dedicated themselves for an entire year to, we're going to hammer home that we will not be the second most physical team on the field with them come late November. But the problem is, once you got to the game, it became pretty obvious that Ohio State's edge was throw the ball. Like, you recruited these guys for a reason. Throw the ball, and they didn't, and they just kept on running into brick wall after brick wall, and it lowered the variance, and it compacted the game, and it limited possessions, which you never want to do if you're the more talented team, which Ohio State was, and it gave Michigan a shot. The thing is, Michigan didn't even play a good game, and they still won. So I'd look at that, and I'd say, I got all these horses in the stable. I'm letting the horses run this year. Jeremiah Smith looks like he's going to play. Carnell Tate looks like he's good to go, at least if you listen to Caleb Downs' podcast, which, of course, I do. Michigan has faced 1 passing offense in the top 30 this year. Now, again, that doesn't automatically mean that your defensive stat profile is a mirage. That just means what it means. It means you may be every bit as legit as this paper says you are, and you're going to prove it Saturday, but you have to prove it. That's all that means. But if I go down, if I'm Ohio State, I'm going down trusting Julian saying to throw the rock to my playmakers. Not that I can't run the ball, but my edge in this game, I don't care if it's snowing. Honestly, snow probably hurts their defense more than me. As long as it isn't 20, 30-mile-an-hour gusty winds, the footing, especially for the side of the ball that has to anticipate what I'm doing, because I know which routes my guys are running, and I can make you look like a fool and put you in a blender. So put more snow on the field. I don't care. Once I figure out Julian saying's good to go, and he's handling the rivalry well, and he's handling the cold air well, if he's handling those things, I'm going down firing with that guy. Because their guy's going to do the same thing. They're going to trust him. At least I assume they are. I'm trusting my guy. There is no way that I'm going conservative in this one. And I'll tell you, Michigan, that one top 30 passing offense they faced was USC. USC threw it for 265 on them, but they ran it for 224 on them. Now, that was in Los Angeles much earlier in the year, and it was warm, and this will be freezing cold in Ann Arbor, and this is kind of a one-game season anyway, and I get that. You got to trust your quarterback. You got to let your horses run. I expect Ohio State to go total flamethrower early in this game. I truly believe that Ohio State staff looks at this game and says, we could be up 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. And if they're up even half that much, it could be ball game. I don't like the prospects of Michigan playing catch-up in this game whatsoever. So you go for the knockout, and you've got the athletes to land the knockout blow. And if you do, it could be a fun final 3 quarters for you. The worst that happens is you don't land it, and then you settle into the game. But there's a worse that could happen, and that is in the process of going for the knockout, you turn the ball over. even then, though, Michigan's not going to pull away from you. Like, it'll be a compacted game. You could win in blowout fashion. Their shot is to beat you at the gun. That's probably the way the game profiles. But there's another worst case scenario that could happen, and that is go 3 and out a couple of times, your first 2 possessions, and they put together a couple of 10, 11 play, 8, 9 minute time consuming drives on you, and you look at your watch and wow, we got 8 minutes to go until halftime, and we're just now getting the ball for the second time. Now that is how the game starts to stack up exactly how Michigan wants it to stack up. Who plays whose game? Who forces the other to play their game? Michigan cannot win Ohio State's game. I don't think that. Ohio State can win Michigan's game, but Michigan obviously is in their wheelhouse when they're playing their game. That's why they call it Michigan's game. This game has humiliated me. Let me be more frank. Ohio State has embarrassed me 4 years in a row. I've picked Ohio State 4 years in a row in this game. They have lost 4 years in a row. I've been at 3 of them. Trust me. And I can tell you, I know there's been a lot of talk this week about what the biggest rivalry is in college football, and I've been to all of them. And they're all intense. There is no more intense rivalry than this one to me. I grew up in the shadow of the Iron Bowl. I'll be at the Iron Bowl Saturday. That thing doesn't take much of a backseat to anyone. Ohio State and Michigan's just incredible, though. And I'm telling you, I've been, in Ohio Stadium most recently, watching them lose and watching some of those seniors after the game's over and you've gone up the tunnel and you've done all your press, and a lot of those guys are playing for their last time in their home building. And this was a couple of years ago. To watch them come back out when the stadium's empty and you're out there doing your post-game live hits and stuff, and I mean, it's so quiet in there, the wind blowing through the stadium, you can hear the cups blowing around in the stands. And you just look, and there are about 5 or 6 seniors sitting with their back against the wall on the ground, just bawling their eyes out. It means a lot, man. Game means a whole lot. So I'm going to show you what the model thinks about it. FanDuel's got Ohio State minus 10.5 right now. Our model's got Ohio State minus 10. I picked this game the moment last year's game ended. I am not going to be proven wrong in this game by Ohio State losing again. So I think Ohio State's the better team. Model thinks Ohio State wins and wins comfortably. Everything about my breakdown of the game leans me towards Ohio State. I couldn't care less until further notice. Michigan will win this game. Michigan covers, Michigan money line. And look, if that's what it takes for Ryan Day and company to win this game, is for me to pick against them, then I'll be happy to take the fall for you. I'm just saying, I've tried to ride with you the past 4 years. You guys have done this to me. Michigan has done this to me as well. So it's inexplicable. Look, you heard the breakdown. I don't have a ton of ammunition for Michigan right now. You think I had reasons to pick them last year? No, they won anyway. So I expect an outcome that is void of reason until further notice.